Oh, all right. Well, thank you for joining us today and welcome to our Chicagoland Solar Power Hour. So my name is Taylor and I work for the Midwest Renewable Energy Association. And I'm just going to chat a little bit before I pass it over to Marina to tell you more about our program. So just so you're aware, I'm going to be utilizing the chat function today. I'm going to be dropping a lot of information into that chat that complements the information that you'll be hearing today. If you miss it, don't worry. This is being recorded, as well as we did send the library a follow-up email that has all this information in, and they can send that to you as well. And if you have any questions about the presentation or anything you're learning today, again, please drop them into that Q&A or the chat box. We will be having a Q&A session at the end of our presentation, so we'll be able to chat more detail and all the questions that you may give us. And then during the end of the webinar, I'm going to drop a link to sign up to get a free site assessment with our program. Please note that that link is also going to be available in the follow-up email that the library can send out to you, as well as on our website. So if you do want to get involved in this program, you will have to fill out the link I drop either in the chat or in that follow-up email, or go to our website and fill out our sign-up form. And that's that. Also, the goal of the Solar Power Hour is to provide you a high-quality solar education coupled with an opportunity to purchase at a lower price than what this high-quality installer, Windfree Solar, would typically charge. And we'll talk more in detail about how the program works. And if you have any questions, again, please drop them into the chat or the Q&A. And with that, I'm going to pass it over to Marina.
Thank you, Taylor. All right. As Taylor said, Grow Solar Chicagoland is a program where we focus on the education of solar across the Chicagoland area, and we help people go solar. So we give them an easy and accessible way to access a high quality installer for a lower price. So we're hoping that tonight's presentation is useful to you all, and whether or not you go solar through this program or 5 years down the road, we hope that you'll have all the information that you need and a foundational understanding of how solar works and what it looks like. So to start off with explaining our partner organization. So my name is Marina Minnick and I'm with Citizens Utility Board, otherwise known as CUB. And CUB is a nonprofit, nonpartisan consumer advocacy organization that represents Illinois ratepayers across the state of Illinois. We focus on saving people money on their bills, and we advocate for cleaner and more affordable energy. I'm personally on the outreach team, so we host around 500 outreach events each year that are similar to this one that you're attending tonight. One of the resources we also provide is something called a utility bill clinic. And at a utility bill clinic, or a UBC, folks can come in and bring their bills for gas, electric, cable, and one of our staff members will have a consultation with you, go through your bills and find ways to save you money, lower your energy usage, and kind of talk to you about options for energy efficiency and potentially clean energy. So if you are interested in doing a virtual UBC, you're always free to send your bills or reach out to ubc@citizensutilityboard.org just to be better informed about your bills. And then this year, CUB is partnering up with the Midwest Renewable Energy Association for this group buy. So the MREA has run around 50 group buys all across the Midwest. They're an educational organization and they promote renewable energy through their courses in solar thermal, solar PV, and small wind. And the MREA believes that the more solar, the better, and that education is always the first step. So like I said, I hope that you all find tonight very informative and walk away with a very good understanding of solar. And we would also love to thank Gail Borden Public Library District for hosting this Solar Power Hour tonight. So to go through the agenda, tonight we'll be going over the benefits of going solar, both health and environmental, the basics of solar, incentives of solar, and then the different options you have when wanting to go solar. So leasing versus owning, community solar, and solar for all. And then we'll finish off with talking about this Grow Solar Chicagoland group buy, and talking a bit more about our partner Windfree Solar as well. All right, so first we can start with the benefits of going solar. So solar is very popular right now. It first came online for commercial use around 1956. And since then, scientists have been working very hard to make it more efficient and to advance the technology. So that is why prices are going down and popularity is rising. Currently, there are over 120 gigawatts of total installed solar capacity in the US, which is enough to power 23.3 million American homes, which is a really great trend to see. Solar also accounted for 46% of all new electric generating capacity additions in 2021, and that was more than any other energy source. So in 2021, we added more solar than we added oil or gas, which is also very exciting and a trend we like to see. And finally, Zillow found that homes with solar panels sell for around 4.1% more than similar non-solar homes. So once again, solar is very popular and it does pay for itself. Solar is also great for the environment and our health. Over the course of around 25 years, the average solar system will offset over 260,000 pounds of CO2. So if you are interested in going solar to help mitigate climate change or help to reduce your carbon emissions, this is a very great way to do that. Widespread solar adoption also significantly reduces nitrous oxides, sulfur dioxide, and particulate matter emissions, all of which are harmful pollutants. So just another reason why solar is great, but I'm sure I'm preaching to the choir with that one. Next, we can get into solar basics. So we like to start off with the solar irradiance map because one of the most common questions I'm asked is if solar is even possible in Illinois. Like, do we get enough sun? Is it even worth it to install? The short answer is yes, and I'll explain why. So on this solar irradiance map, you can see in the red, that's where you get the most sunlight, and then in the deep blue and purple areas are where we get the least amount of sunlight. And Illinois there is right in the middle with that kind of middle green. And then we also show Germany on this map, which is, as you can see, very dark blue and purple. And Germany actually has the highest amount of solar capacity installed per capita in the entire world. So if Germany can do that, then Illinois can most definitely adopt solar in a meaningful way. Now I will pass it on to Adam from Windfree Solar to go into more technical parts of solar.
Thank you, Marina. So on the screen now, we are going to talk a little bit about how solar works. On number one, the sun is shining on the solar panels. The photons from the sunlight will excite the electrons in the panels, which creates what's called DC energy. Now, this DC energy is not usable by the home in this form, so it is sent to the inverter, number 3, where it is turned into something called AC energy. This is usable by the home, so it is used, and then any excess power would go to the meter, number 4, where it is tracked, accounted for, and then sent back to the grid for net metering credits. On this next screen is a system dashboard. So if you were to go solar at your house, you would have access to a system dashboard very similar to what you see here and be able to monitor the system production and also be able to run diagnostic and production reports from your phone or tablet. And you'd also be able to see if there's any issues going on. Like you can see in the bottom right-hand corner, there is a panel that's not functioning properly. So it's very easy to identify and then create warranty claims online. So we'll talk a little bit about the different inverters that are available. So the traditional string inverter, something like an SMA inverter, no longer really used for residential purposes and actually more useful for commercial projects where there's not a lot of shading, but there's large arrays that are all facing the same direction. For a residential project, we would use something something more similar to an N-phase microinverter or a solar edge with power optimizers, both of which would help to mitigate shade and would be much more ideal for your residential project. So if you're curious whether your home specifically is a good candidate for solar, you can take a few of these different pieces into consideration. We are looking for a south-facing roof. East and west also works well, but north is not ideal. We're also looking, of course, for a home without a lot of shading and obstructions on the roof. If you're curious specifically for your house, you can look at Google Project Sunroof. The link is on the screen right now, and you'd be able to view something very similar to what you're seeing. And if you're interested also, you can reach out to us and we can provide you with a more detailed report. So the way that we install, we do mount the panels directly parallel to the roof plane. We use an aluminum-based racking system, so there's no issues with any sort of exposure or corrosion from long-term being in the elements. All of the panels and racking is flashed directly into the roof, so there's no issues with any leaking. And of course, considering that we are in the Midwest and deal with some pretty extreme weather, all of the systems are snow and hail and weather rated. And then finally, to note, the systems themselves are grid tied. So if there is an outage from the grid, the system itself and your house would also be offline. This is done by design. This is actually called rapid shutdown and is designed to protect linesmen that might be working in the area during an outage. Thank you.
Thanks, Adam. So now to give you an idea of what a solar array would look like, the average size solar array in Illinois is around 6.5 kilowatts. And to better understand that, I like to take a step back and go through the terminology and explain the difference between a kilowatt and a kilowatt hour. So a kilowatt is the measure of power capacity. So in other words, it's the measurement of the most energy that your system can produce in one instant. So for a 6.5 kilowatt system, it can produce 6.5 kilowatts in one instant. And so that's how we describe the rating or size of the system. So this is a bit different than a kilowatt hour, which is power used over time. So this, like, kilowatt hours are what will show up on your ComEd bill. It'll say, you know, for example, 200 kilowatt hours used in that month. So those are, it's good to distinguish between those two. And then, as Adam had said earlier, when you do get panels on your home, all of the electricity produced from those panels will go to power your home and your electrical needs, and any excess electricity will then be sent to the grid. That amount of electricity will be kept track of by a meter, and then the utility will credit you for that amount of kilowatt hours on your utility bill, so like your ComEd bill. And for ComEd customers, you're credited at the same rate that you purchase electricity from them. So it's called one-to-one net metering. So this means currently ComEd is charging around 11 cents per kilowatt hour. You will then also be credited 11 cents per kilowatt hour for that excess electricity. And on months that you don't produce excess, you're still, of course, not paying for any of the electricity that came straight from your panels into your home. So when you do produce excess electricity, some months the amount of electricity may be greater than what you owe on your bill. And when that happens, that electricity will roll over to the next month, and it will continue to do so until all credits expire in April, at the end of April. So kind of what this looks like throughout the year is in the summertime when there's more sun, you're going to produce more excess electricity. And so you're going to accumulate those credits, they're going to roll over month to month. And then in the winter, when your system may produce less electricity because there's not as much sun, those credits will then be applied each month. And hopefully you use most of those up by the time the end of April rolls around. But unfortunately, if you do have credits left over, those will expire. So now we can look at an example bill from ComEd just to show you what net metering would actually look like. So here we have sample ComEd bill, and on your ComEd bill right now, you would see, you know, the meter information, and it would tell you how many kilowatt hours you used that month. And so if you go solar, there would be an additional line there, which would say kilowatt hours to the grid. So in this example, this person accumulated 180 kilowatt hours of excess credits. And those credits are then applied to the bill. So they'll first be applied to the supply portion of the bill. And once that is zeroed out, it will go to delivery and then taxes and fees. And one thing to note is that unfortunately, your bill will never be zero once going solar, because if you can see under delivery, those first two line items, customer charge and standard metering charge, are usually worth around $15, and those do not get credited out. So the lowest your bill will be each month from ComEd with the grid tied system is around $15. So that is net metering. It does help you to pay your system back faster. Next, I like to talk about energy efficiency. It's very important because you don't want to purchase an oversized system for a very inefficient house. It's much more economical to really get your house as efficient as possible, so then you don't have to buy as large of a solar system. So in order to do this, we recommend looking into LED lighting, potentially replacing some appliances with Energy Star appliances, making sure your home is properly weatherized, and just keeping an eye on your electricity usage habits. One website I like to recommend is comed.com/ways to save. They have a few different programs, rebates and discounts listed on this website. One in particular is the free home energy assessment. And this is something that ComEd offers completely for free. You can sign up, and basically what it is they will send someone out to your home and do a walkthrough to identify anything that is extremely inefficient. They will also replace all of your LED light bulb, or all of your light bulbs with LED light bulbs, give you low flow faucets, and a few other tools to make your house more energy efficient. So that's a very quick and easy thing you can do that is completely free, and I really recommend. The website also has discounts and rebates for Energy Star appliances, and like AC tune-ups and different things. So it's definitely worth checking out. And just to wrap up what we spoke about in this section, when you are going to go speak to an installer, there are a few things you want to consider beforehand. One is thinking about your roof. Does it have good exposure? Is it unshaded? Which direction is it facing? Like Adam said, south is most ideal and east and west will still work, but if it's north, it might not be worth your time. Also think about when you anticipate re-roofing. If you're around 8 years out from needing a new roof, you may want to consider waiting until then or just getting a new roof now. Because it is a bit of an annoying and an extra cost to get solar panels on a roof, only to have to take them down a few years later to replace your roof and then put them back on. So that's something to consider. And then once again, be thinking of how you can make your home more energy efficient. All right, next we can get into the incentives for going solar. So the current incentives for going solar right now can reduce total costs up to or around 60%. So there's the state solar renewable energy credits, which cover around 30%. There's the federal tax credit, which is currently set at 26%. And then there's the utility net metering credits, which do help you pay your system back faster. And in this section, I also like to note that your homeowners association cannot block you from going solar in the state of Illinois. So that is also something to keep in mind in case anyone is giving you trouble for wanting to go solar. All right, so we can go through these incentives now one by one. So first is the SREC, or Solar Renewable Energy Credit, from the state of Illinois. So these are through a program called Illinois Shines. Illinois Shines was created in 2016 through the Future Energy Jobs Act, and it was re-upped and kind of expanded in 2021 through the Climate and Equitable Jobs Act. Basically, through this program, Illinois now has a goal to hit 50% renewable energy by 2040. And if you go solar on your property, they want to be able to count that solar production toward their goal. However, they legally can't, claim your generation towards that goal unless they pay you for it. So that's kind of how these SRECs came to be. So the way that this works is when an installer installs panels on your home, they will estimate how much electricity your system will produce over the course of 15 years. That amount of kilowatt hours is then multiplied by a dollar amount, which is the price of an SREC. You will then receive that incentive as a check from your installer, usually around 6 to 12 months after your system is installed and connected to the grid. And just to note, SRECs are considered taxable income, but they are not like a tax credit. They are an incentive in the form of a check. Next is the federal tax credit. So this credit is equal to 26% of the project cost. So that includes labor costs, system installation, and interconnection wiring. And this does not include a new roof unless your home is one of those few situations that requires structural reinforcement to support solar panels. And the home must be owned by the taxpayer, but it does not need to serve as the principal residence. And this is a non-refundable credit, but it does reduce what you owe on your income taxes. And if the credit is worth more than what you owe on your income taxes in 1 year, it will roll over for the next 5 years. And I'd just like to note that the federal tax credit was actually at 30% for some time. This year it went down to 26%, and at the end of the year, it will be stepping down to 22%. And past that, it may go down to 0% unless it is re-upped, which we really can't say for sure if it will or will not be. So if you are thinking about getting solar, I do recommend you try to get it by the end of this year so you can take advantage of that extra 4%. And I definitely recommend that you get it by the end of next year to take advantage of the credit for sure. All right, now we can go through the different options that you have when wanting to go solar. So first we'll start off with the options that require panels to actually be physically on your roof. So the first is to purchase the panels outright. This is what most people think of when they think of going solar. You are the owner of those panels and you pay it off or finance it however is best for you. And when you do own the panels, you get your electricity from the panels for free, you get utility net metering, and then you also get the state and federal incentives. Leases and power purchase agreements work a bit differently. So with the lease, usually a solar company will put panels on your roof, but the solar company will remain the owners of those panels. So they will get the state and federal incentives for being the owner. And you, the homeowner, with the panels, you will get free electricity and benefit from that utility net metering. However, it's not completely free. Although you avoid those upfront costs, you still need to pay a fixed monthly fee back to the solar installer, your solar company. And then with the power purchase agreement, it works similarly to a lease. The solar company will get those state and federal incentives. You get the electricity net metering, and then instead of paying a fixed monthly fee to the installer, you will pay a price per kilowatt hour. So the more the panels produce 1 month, the more you would pay. So those are the lease and the PPA can be good options or sound like good options for people because you get to avoid those initial upfront costs. But we often see in those contracts that there is a price escalator per year included. So oftentimes those monthly fees or kilowatt hour rates will increase around 2 to 3% a year. And by the end of a 20-year contract, people usually actually save more money if they would have just bought the panels outright versus doing a lease or a PPA. Leases and PPAs can often have complicated things in the contract or unfavorable things for homeowners in the contract when thinking about selling the home as well. So even if you don't plan to sell your house, it's good to understand that there could be something unfavorable in there as well. So the CUB and the MREA, we both recommend that you fully look into purchasing panels outright before considering a lease or PPA. All right, next I will go over community solar. So community solar is a great program for people who can't go solar for whatever reason. Maybe you're a renter or maybe you have a shaded roof. So when you sign up for community solar, essentially what's happening is there's a solar developer that they build these large solar farms, and you can sign up to and subscribe to a portion of that farm. So when your subscription produces electricity, the solar developer will report that amount of electricity to your utility, and you will get a credit on your bill. And then you'll turn around and pay a subscription fee to that solar developer, but the fee will always be less than what you saved. So essentially all current offers do guarantee savings each month. And one difference is you will most likely pay two bills. You'll pay your existing utility bill, and then you'll also pay the monthly bill to the community solar company. And as I mentioned, there are multiple offers. I believe there are 8 current community solar companies in Illinois with offers. And if that seems a bit confusing to navigate, CUB has a really great website called solarinthecommunity.com, where we list all of the current offers, and we also have a comparison chart so that you can see them side by side. And just to quickly go over what community solar looks like with that dual billing. So in the image on the left, in the purple, we see an electric bill without community solar. So here, this person's bill comes out to $109, and they used 800 kilowatt hours that month. And then in the yellow, we see the bills when you do have community solar. So the electric bill is still there. And in this example, this person still used 800 kilowatt hours, but then their solar subscription produced 714 kilowatt hours that month, which totaled or came out to be a $50 credit on the bill. So in the end, they owe $59 to their utility. And then the solar provider bill shows that $50 credit, but you will always pay less than that by a certain percentage. So this one is a 20% guaranteed savings. So in the end, they saved $10. So this can be a nice way to offset your carbon emissions and get a small discount on your bill each month. And finally, we have Illinois Solar for All. So this is a new low-income solar program that is run through the state. And through Solar for All, you are able to access community solar and rooftop solar. You can qualify for this program if you are at or below 80% area median income. And if you do qualify, it really is the best way to access solar, and it will be the best deal for you. The program is kind of structured so that companies that offer either community solar or residential solar are required to offer no money down and 50% savings on the energy generated by the solar system. And this is written into law, that 50%. So if that seems interesting and you think you may qualify, you can go to illinoissfa.com to learn more. And on that website, you can double check if you qualify, and then you can also sign up from there. All right, and finally, we can get into the Grow Solar Chicagoland Group Buy program. So like I mentioned at the very beginning of the program, the MREA has run around 50 of these group buy programs throughout the Midwest. They started back in 2013 in Milwaukee, so they've made a lot of progress since then. This year is the 3rd time that we're running the program in Chicagoland. We did it back in 2019 and 2020, took a break in 2021, and now we're back for the 3rd time. And so I just want to explain kind of how a solar group buy program works. So first, we host a series of these free informational sessions all across the Chicagoland region. So these sessions are free for anyone to come and learn about the basics and benefits of going solar. Meanwhile, the MREA sends out a request for proposals and creates an advisory board that has members of all of the counties that are involved. And we competitively select a solar installer to work with. So this year we are working with Windfree Solar. And when looking for an installer, we're looking for high quality workmanship, affordable prices, great customer service, and NABCEP certified installers on staff. So we have done that. And now after folks participate in a solar power hour, they're then able to sign up for a free, no obligation consultation with Windfree in order to receive a free quote to see how much solar would personally cost them. And then the group buy part of this is that the more participants who join the program and go solar through this program, the greater the savings become for everyone. So now I'll invite Adam back to go over Windfree Solar a bit more.
Thank you, Marina. So Windfree was founded back in 2009. We are a Chicago-based company working almost entirely in the Chicagoland area in Northern Illinois. Over this time, we've completed over 900 installations, which is about 19 megawatts worth of residential projects. In addition to residential solar, we also work in the commercial solar sector, working with electric vehicle charging stations, which is a hot topic now with new incentives that are available. We also handle sustainability and energy audits and LED light bulb retrofits. Some of our most notable projects include DePaul University, Habitat for Humanity, where we did the very first solar installation in Illinois, and the Oak Park Conservatory. And then what we provide for the solar, for the group buy program, we provide a fully turnkey system, which includes labor, material, permitting and engineering, incentive applications. The state incentive specifically is very complicated, but we handle all of it on your behalf. We also provide warranty documentation, including the 25-year warranty for solar panels, 12 years on inverters, 25 years on power optimizers and microinverters, and then of course a 15-year workmanship warranty. And then finally, to note, one of the first things that we do ask for if you're interested in pursuing solar for your house is a recent ComEd bill. And the reason we ask for this is so that we can determine how much energy you use on a yearly basis and what size the system would be appropriate. Thank you.
All right, and now we can get into the pricing structure of the program for those who may be curious. So the base price is $3.20 per watt, which is lower than what Windfree Solar would offer outside of this program. And in addition to that lower base price, there are a series of rebates that kick in as we hit these participation benchmarks throughout the program. So it starts out at $3.20 per watt. And by the end, if we hit our goal, it will be $3.05 per watt, which makes a big difference. And just speaking of the goals, 750 kilowatts is around 100 homes, which we have hit the past 2 times we've done this program in Chicagoland. And we're currently around the 50 kilowatt goal in this program. So we're moving along quickly. And yeah, so that is kind of how the rebate is structured. And then just to put together everything that we've been talking about in this presentation, I like to show what kind of all of those incentives look like together. So we start off with the base price of the, for the $3.20 per watt. And so for a 6.5 kilowatt system, that would be around $20,000. And so that's already a lower price than what it would be outside of this program. Next, the Illinois SREC will take off around 30 to 35%. So that's $8,000 gone. Tax credit is another 26%. So that's another $5,400 off. And then the additional group buy discount accounts for around $1,000. So in the end, that net cost is going to be around $6,400 rather than $20,000. So as you can see with all of these incentives and the group buy discount, going solar seems to feel a bit more possible for people. So if you did like what you see and are interested in getting a personalized quote, Taylor has probably a few times now sent a link in the chat where you can click to go sign up for that quote, and also just sign up for more program information if you want to learn more. And so once you do get that free solar quote, be sure to have your ComEd bill ready, because that bill will show the past 12 months of electricity usage. Also, in the meantime, be thinking of ways to become more energy efficient. And of course, make sure to tell your friends, family, neighbors about Grow Solar if you think they'd be interested, because the greater the participation is, the greater the savings become for everyone. So it's beneficial to us all to share the program. And that is about all I have. I want to give a thank you from CUB and remind you that we have our website, citizensutilityboard.org, that has dozens of fact sheets and resources about clean and affordable energy, your bills, your utilities. We also have a hotline that runs weekdays 9 to 4 that you can always call if you have even the slightest question about your bill. Also like to thank the MREA. They have countless number of courses for any of you who are interested in learning more about solar. And if you do go solar through this program, the MREA would gift you a free basic family membership, which would give you easier access to those courses. And once again, thank you so much. On the screen is the program website, and then my email and phone number in case you have any questions after the fact. But thank you all so much.
Awesome. Thank you, Marina. So as she had mentioned, I put in the chat, the first thing was the form to sign up for your free site assessment or cost estimate through Windfree. I also dropped just our general website if you want to sign up for updates. So we'll send you, updates about the program, whether we've sent passed another benchmark. So our next benchmark is, I believe, 100 kilowatts. And so we'll let you know all what's happening with Grow Solar Chicagoland if you are interested in following along or helping us just share it with your friends and family. But now we're going to chat about questions. So you still have time to ask questions in the chat. But first, I wanted to start off with SRECs because it is such a great state incentive in the Midwest. Like, it's one of the best state incentives that you can get. So Adam, I was hoping, could you go into a little bit more detail about the process of applying for SRECs?
Sure. So we do handle all the process for you. The very first thing that you'll receive is a disclosure, which will be an automated email that you'll receive, which kind of gives detailed information about the project that you're doing or that's going to be installed, how it'll go through, how the materials will work, and it'll be kind of a disclosure. So it's meant only to inform the customer. It is required by policy. Once that's completed, you'll sign a contract with the approved vendor who will handle the transaction with the state. This will detail how the power or the SRECs will be sold to the state. And then shortly after the project's been completed, typically 6 or so months, the check will come to you. Again, it is taxable income, but it is a check, not a tax incentive, not a rebate of any sort. So you will get that money. It is also guaranteed now that CEJA, the bill that passed just a few months ago, now that that has been signed into law, the SREC is guaranteed. There's no issues with any sort of capacity or limitations like that, which I noticed was a question that was asked earlier.
Yep, it was. Could you perhaps go into a little detail of like what a limitation could be?
There are limitations about size of the system because there's different categories for like commercial size projects versus residential. There are what's called different block categories. So the blocks do close, but they're not closing anytime soon. It should be more than a year until the next one closes. But yeah, there's no other limitations beyond that.
Awesome, thank you. All right, another question is, could you just chat about roof considerations? That's a frequently asked question that we get a lot.
Yeah, it is. So we do typically recommend that people that have roof age about 12 to 15 years or greater do consider roof replacement earlier than normal. You may want to hire a roofing contractor to come out there and inspect your roof and certify that it is good. These systems do last 25 years. So if you need to do a roof replacement after the system has been installed, there are added costs to remove and replace the system, or otherwise, patching or doing any of that stuff after the fact does add, trickiness factor to it. So if you're going to need to patch or replace or repair or do anything, do it now. Though to note that the system itself does protect the roof after it's been installed. So there is a lower rate of issues after the system has been installed. So that's helpful.
Awesome, thank you. Another question we got was, if I get an electric car in the future, can I add capacity to the system? And could you also just chat about batteries at the same time?
Sure. So first, the systems being expanded upon, it's possible in some cases, right? It depends heavily on what inverter is used, N-phase or a microinverter versus a string inverter with power optimizers. The difference in modularity, if that's even a word, honestly, is very different. So something to consider definitely. If you're planning on getting an EV, let's plan for that ahead of time, because it is definitely easier to do it all at once. Also, the state incentive, you're not going to get it twice. You will get it once for sure, but you will not get it twice. So that is a major factor in financing these projects. So it makes it a lot more expensive if you're not going to get the incentive the second time.
Can you get the federal?
Oh, and the batteries also. We do offer batteries, but they are a newer technology and they are still rather expensive. So if you are considering, you should determine what loads specifically you want to back up in the case of an outage, and plan to size that battery to meet your needs, because oversizing a battery can be very expensive. Also consider whether or not you actually need a battery, because how often do outages occur? If they have, every area is different depending on the grid reliability. So something to consider as well.
Cool. Thank you. Another question we got was, are the net metering credits in terms of dollars that are earned at the kilowatt hour rate when generated and then spent at the kilowatt hour rate at that time? Or are the credits in terms of energy regardless of fluctuating energy rates?
That's a confusing question. Okay, so the Illinois ComEd rule is required to be a 1-to-1 ratio. So any power that you send to the grid is required to be paid to you at a 1-to-1 ratio of what you would have paid. So I think that it recently went up to about 11 cents per kilowatt hour, but it's not about how much money, because it's the same either way. So what it really is a kilowatt hour credit on your bill, which I know Marina kind of covered earlier on when she brought up a copy of a bill that had net metering credits on it. It's not about how much money is being offset. It's about how many kilowatt hours. It's all they're looking at. So if you overproduce by 150 or 180, which I think the example is, that extra 180 later on would be applied to your bill at that same value. I think that answers.
Thank you.
Just for further clarification, because I know the ComEd rate changes like twice a year. So say you stored up 50 kilowatts of electricity in the summer, and then they didn't get applied until the winter, then you would be paid at that rate, that current rate, basically. Even though it doesn't really work like that, I think that's
interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. All right, so I don't see any more questions, so I'll just pull out another frequently asked question, but you still have time to ask us questions. So next one is, how do panels impact my home insurance rates?
That's a good question. So they don't typically raise them beyond the property value increase. The hazard rating of a solar panel and the system itself is so safe that it actually doesn't increase the hazard rating of your insurance program or insurance policy. So all you're typically worrying about is the fact that the property value has increased, which does typically increase your property insurance.
Mm-hmm. All right, friends. Well, that's, I think, all we have, unless anybody, oh, nice. We got another one.
Yeah.
So it's, I believe ComEd limits the size of your system for net metering purposes, ? to a size that would meet your previous year's consumption. But if I switched, I might want to also go geothermal, which would increase my consumption. Am I allowed to build a system that is larger than my current needs in an anticipation of additional future needs?
So I'm just going to pop in right now, and that rule is no longer applicable anymore. ComEd got rid of that. It's been a rule for a very long time, 10 plus years, and it is gone. So you can do whatever you want. Though we do still recommend you don't necessarily do whatever you want, but stick generally to that 110% rule. But if you're planning on increasing your usage in the future, then have fun.
Yeah. Just make sure to chat with your installer about your needs and your goals, and then
definitely
properly plan and design for you. All right, so I'm going to drop that link one more time as a friendly reminder. If you want to get involved in this program, you'll have to either fill out this form to get a site assessment, or you can sign up with us for updates. And thank you for your time. We really appreciate this opportunity to speak with you today, to give you this learning opportunity to see if solar is right for you, because it's not right for everyone, but maybe it is for you, and you can join us on this journey together. But yes, you're going to get that follow-up email from the library. They'll also include at some point the recording via YouTube. But if you do have any questions, you're welcome to reach out to Marina or the MRA or even Windfree Solar if you do think of any additional questions. As Marina maybe mentioned, the only way this program is successful is through community-led outreach. So please consider sharing this opportunity, this educational opportunity, with your friends and your family or whoever to help us spread the word. Because the more people who join this program, the more everyone will end up saving. And at that point, it kind of concludes our presentation. So I just want to thank everyone again. Thank you for your time, and I hope you all have a lovely rest of your night.